Legal Podcast Thursday night. It is Law and Sporter. Adam Hill is here. The expert, Justin Watkins from Battleborn Injury Lawyers. It's Cofield. We got a lot of sports, a lot of sporter stuff to talk about, and legal stuff to get into. Some political stuff as well. Former public servant Justin Watkins will comment on that. I do have to say that after months and months and months and months of misery, no, at least like 2.5 months, that tonight was a revelation. Tonight was crazy. There goes a cat. Tonight was crazy. There were sports going on all over the place. Come on. You had college football, we had the NFL, we had the Lakers, we had VGK. If you like the WNBA, we had that. I think I'm missing something. Like everything. Oh, U.S. Open for tennis. Everything was going on tonight. How awesome was that?
That's great, except for the hockey game.
It's one of the first true sports equinoxes we've ever had. Like we've used that term before, but it's never been like this. Like, I mean, to have NFL, NBA, and NHL playoffs, and Major League Baseball, and U.S. Open, and everything else you mentioned, college basketball or college football, WNBA, everything going on at the same time is so incredibly rare. It's impossible in normal circumstances. You can never have NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs along with an NFL game. It's crazy.
Right. I got so depressed at the end of last night's podcast. I don't know if you guys saw what was going on, but I was trying to get advice on the NFL season and DirecTV and the Sunday ticket, and like we're screwed right now. We have no bar. We have very few bars open. They're limited in terms of space. So what do you do if you don't have, corded TV anymore? Do you have to go back to DirecTV? I mean, they've got the freaking chokehold on the NFL, and we tried to work through it in the chat room, and there are no options. Just you have to steal it. And I'm like, I don't really want to steal it, so I'll figure it out. I did get motivated tonight though to I have a 3 TV wall, and I haven't really had it hooked up since I got rid of DirecTV. And tonight I was like, all right, Fire Stick here, another one here, and let's do some kind of Hulu feed up here. So I'm good to go. We'll see how it works out on Sunday, but like I'm not trying to make the fact that sports are all coming back at the same time into a negative, but like there is a need to have multiple TVs to watch what the hell is going on because they're all going down at the same time. So yay me. That's a happy story. Yay me. The 3 TV wall is set up. We'll see if it works on Sunday. And if I don't pull one down.
How big is every one of the TVs?
They're not gigantic. I have 2 40s and a 50, but I have so many TVs. I mean, I have this is like a 10-year-old TV behind me, a 37. I've got a 70. I've got a 60 that's been just laying on its side upstairs forever. There's a freaking 45 or 50 in the master bedroom. So there's TVs all over the place. But you got to, when there's a bunch of sports going on, you get it run all over the house. They got to be in one room. So I'm sort of set up.
I was actually
goddamn you, DirecTV, because I don't know how to I don't know how to beat you.
You're right. You're right. Like that was depressing watching that last night. But also I felt like you guys were just taunting me because I don't get to watch games on Sunday, and I'm just miserable about it.
Yep. Adam, we should make that official announcement. Adam is out. Tradition. Who came by today? There was a God dang it. Dude came by. I think it was a Bill came by, and he's like, "Where's Adam?" Because you weren't at Silver Sevens with me, and he's like, "Oh, okay, cool. Well, you know what? I'll see him at the Westgate." And I'm like, "Nope, he is retired. The RJ is officially swallowing up more and more of his time, and like Adam has been part of that show for like 12 years down at the Sportsbook at 8 a.m, watching NFL all day long. It's over. You're now a TV star, buddy."
Yeah, feels like it. It's great. But no, I mean, even when the Raiders play at 1, like I can at least watch the 10 a.m. games, right? Like it's still tough, but you can at least watch the games because being up there last year, you would get at the stadium at like 9:30 for a 1 o'clock game, but you'd at least get to watch the games like in the press box for a while, whatever. With a 10 a.m. game, you have to watch the game, cover it, and then you're missing the 1 o'clock games too. Like it sucks. And like my favorite thing to do on a Sunday is just watch every single game. And now I can't do it at all. Sucks. Yeah.
I think it's fixed. I don't think you have the echo anymore.
Well, he muted his microphone. I think that's
I might have to turn off my mic. I don't know what's going on.
I think it's usually when you start to try to get videos or something.
There's no videos. Maybe there's an alternate feed or something. All right, so sports. I enjoyed a lot of the games. I enjoyed the NFL game. I enjoyed the Miami UAB game. I didn't get to watch much of the Lakers game because I was kind of in transit and then setting things up. But I did watch the VGK game, especially in the second half of the game, and yeah, that didn't go well. It didn't go well, and now we go into the night. Do we have any sort of update, Adam, on Robin Lehner after losing? Looked like he tweaked something, or was it just a shot to the balls? What was the deal at the end of regulation?
Yeah, I think it was somewhere in between. I thought he tweaked something. The announcer said it was just a shot to the junk, and that's what that was going on. But I didn't think he looked great. I didn't think either goaltender looked great. They both looked like they got banged up in the third period. But we'll wait on the updates on that. I didn't get to see anything after the game. I was working on Raider stuff. But yeah, not great. And certainly when you limp off the ice and then give up a shot on your first, give up a goal on your first shot of the overtime, it probably doesn't look good for your health.
Might be time for the heavily scorned Marc-Andre Fleury to save the day.
Oh,
right, Justin Watkins? God, these guys will not come off their Lehner stand. No matter this guy could be at 60% after giving up 2 weak goals, and they don't care. They're just going to go with Lehner. They love him.
I didn't think the last one was weak. That was a hell of a shot.
Like I didn't think.
Yeah, it was a crazy good shot from like a crazy angle, and well, not crazy angle, but a good angle, and players moving. It's fast shot. I thought it was a great shot. The one soft goal for sure, but at the same time, he prevented what would have easily been like 3 goals that should have gone in. There was that second period. There were so many odd man rushes. It didn't make any sense. I was like, what the hell is going on here? It was like, I think there was like 4 or 5 in a row that he stopped on odd man rushes. So, I mean, okay, you can give him the one soft goal through the 5-hole, but I mean, easily could have given up a goal on any of those odd man rushes, and I don't think anybody would have faulted him for it. So overall, I thought he played well.
The crazy part
in the game.
I don't think there's any question about that. But the crazy thing to me is, and like Steve, you're mentioning it, like first of all, I just thought this was done. Like I didn't think this was a conversation anymore. I thought everybody had come around. You said that to me the other day. We were like, all right, stop, it's over, it's done, we get it. But now again, I was like, the guy just had 4 shutouts, like a 6-game span. He literally tonight broke the record that for the longest shutout streak that the Golden Knights have had. And all of a sudden it's like, well, now it's not, if Fleury would have done that, Fleury would have won. And it was all over Twitter. And of course, blame me for setting a column on my tweet deck of Fleury Lehner and just seeing what was going on. But it's just outrage of people that Fleury would have won the game and why isn't he in there? You just stop this. Lehner is the goalie. Like, this is not a debate anymore.
If you set your search terms for Lehner Fleury, what do you think you're going to find?
Well, no, but I said it after I saw a bunch of it, that I set the search term up just to check it out. Yeah. Because what I'm really doing is saving anybody that says I'm never cheering for this team again. Because if they win, I just want to go back to all these tweets and like, you don't get to celebrate, you don't get to celebrate, you don't get to celebrate. None of you. But there's plenty of them out there.
I'm glad that you're spending your time doing that. Just keeping track of people to make sure that you can take away their celebrations later.
I am. Well,
yeah, because I've said it, and my biggest critique of this whole thing, and I said it, I think it was yesterday on the air, the immaturity of people picking sides. Like, this is not a bad thing. You have 2 really good goaltenders. They may need Fleury again. So I don't understand why there's this war. And in some ways, so far it's worked for Lehner, because you sent me the story today, Adam, that Lehner, he did an interview with Lawless. Like, he is paying attention to it. He does notice fans and media getting on him, which if you really think about it, for the Fleury stands, like the big Fleury fans, right? All right, right now, Fleury's the 2. Lehner's the 1. If you want to win a cup, I would think the last thing you'd want to do is continue to pound Robin Lehner and question him, especially a guy who has, up until this moment, really not established himself as the guy, and there are reasons why. He has had struggles with mental health. He has had some addiction issues. Like, how about just backing both guys, being cool, and trying to win a cup by not effing them up mentally?
Right, but Steve, sorry, and I definitely want to get Justin's take on this because Justin is the fan of this group. But like when you're saying why are you making this war, that's been my point from day one. Like that has been my point from the second they got Leonard. It was no more battle. Leonard's the starter. Fleury's the backup. Why are we having a debate? Why are we screaming about this? Why are we getting emotional about it? That's
Adam,
where it is.
You stir the pot. You're one of the guys stirring the pot. Obviously, Granger was doing it. There are others who are doing it. I think you want to accuse one of the blogs of doing it. So, like, you are taking part in keeping the flame alive.
But by saying it shouldn't be a discussion anymore?
Yes.
No, that's not what you just say. No, come on.
Yes, it is. 100%. That's what I said. The day they got him, I said he's the starter. Fleury's the backup. It's over. It's done.
Yeah,
no more discussion.
That's not all you say. That's not all you say. You put tweets out there when Fleury has a good game of like, hey, pretty good for a backup. You know exactly what you're doing. You're fettering out. You want the rage to go on your feed.
I think the tweet you're referring to, I said, what a great luxury it is to be able to put your backup goaltender in the playoffs and get rest for your starter and get a win. That is what I said.
No, that's not the tweet.
Oh, yes, it is.
No. The tweet I'm talking about, everybody responded with, why are you trolling? Like everybody read into it exactly what you were doing, which is you could have just said, hey, Fleury had a great performance. But you said, what a good performance by a backup goalie.
No, like, what a luxury it is to be able to put your backup goaltender in and win a game in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, let me see if I can find it. You tweet too much. I do tweet a lot. You're right. It's gonna be hard for me to find, and I'm not gonna have the patience to go through it. But you absolutely pick words and phrasing and a way to stir the pot on Twitter, no doubt about it. Especially in this regard. But here's the thing, like, yeah, I agree with you. One of the things I'm concerned about is that
I found the tweet. It wasn't that hard, by the way.
Okay.
It is Vancouver scored 3 times and hit 2 posts. VGK still finds a way to win a playoff game with its backup goaltender. These are the kind of wins it takes to make a deep run.
That's nothing like what you just said it said.
Yes, it is.
Close to what you just said.
That's the kind of wins it takes to make a deep run in the playoffs.
No. You said that the tweet said, what a luxury it is to have a backup who can come in and
that's what I thought. It was a month ago. It was a month ago. It was a month ago.
It was a tweet designed to get the Fleury bandwagon up in arms.
Those are the kind of wins it takes to make a deep run.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about. When Leonard's playing, how many goals would Fleury have scored by now?
That was obnoxious. Yes, because the whole entire timeline was they'd be winning if Fleury was in, they'd be scoring goals if Fleury was in, the team plays better when Fleury's in the game. That was my response. Yes, 100% yes.
So those are fans. You're media. It's different. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Look at Justin's. He's freezing up. He doesn't.
Of course, I don't have to do that.
Oh, you guys are freezing up on mine. I thought it was you.
Because yes, I have gotten completely frustrated because as I just pointed out, from day one, I said this should not be a discussion. This debate is over. There's no controversy. There's none of this. And remember, that's exactly what Alex said from the Kings, right? I mean, when I was sitting there, I was like, yes. We had him on, and we asked him, what is the view of this? I got to plug
in. I think you guys are tripping out with me.
Yeah.
You go.
Because when Alex was on with us from the Kings, we asked him, what is the view of this goalie controversy from the outside? And he laughed and said, what controversy? You got a starting goaltender in Leonard and a backup goaltender in Fleury, and that's it. And he said, there's not a debate or a controversy. And it's exactly what I've been trying to say all along. But when you say that, and it's over, and it's game after game after game after game after game. Who's the starter? Who's starting tonight? Why are they starting him? What are they doing here? It's insane. That's fine. That's fair enough. You should ignore them. But again, this is a very local thing, and there is passion about it, which I still don't understand why. He just had 4 shutouts.
We've gone through the angle a million times, so we'll see if Justin has something fresh on it. All right, so aside from Leonard, what was the other storyline tonight? What are the other storylines? Because the Knights did have some good opportunities. The Knights could have put up a lot more goals up on the board. They had their chances.
Yeah, they did, and I thought they played a different style of, you know, we talked with Ryan Wallace earlier today about, you know, if one of the teams would make a move first to really try to open up the game, where Dallas really wanted to play in a shell, and Vegas had kind of played into their hands a little bit, and they both kind of, you know, played more defensive minded, except for the Knights in the second period last game opened it up. Whoa.
This is my favorite. I had this happen one night, so we're
great.
gonna leave
great.
like frozen, stunned, Justin in the corner.
You can't kick me out and then I get back in?
No, I can. I just like it.
That's great. No, but I thought the Knights did kind of make that first move of, okay, we're going to try to open this up and play a different type of game, and this is really weird too. It led to a lot of chances for the Knights. It led to, as Justin pointed out, a lot of really, really, really good chances for Dallas countering that. So I thought it was a more open game at times, for sure, which probably you would think would favor the Golden Knights in the long run. Dallas is a team that wants to play very sound defensively and stay organized. They do have offensive talent, but that's how they want to kind of play the game. And, you know, it opened up, which I think favors the Golden Knights if they can play that way the rest of the series, but didn't get the job done tonight. They couldn't finish enough of those chances.
Yeah, I thought like with Dallas had the better opportunities to make a play, but I actually didn't think they were reminiscent of what the Golden Knights were for the final 3 games of Vancouver, in that their shots were not quality shots. I mean, the game winner was that was a great shot, but the other shots, when they had opportunities on odd man rushes or breakaways, they didn't put good shots on goal. They didn't make it tough for Leonard very often. There, like I said, there were a couple saves. Definitely in the second period, my thought was Leonard's keeping us in this game right now. You know, and that's before the other 2 goals that he gave up in the third and in overtime. But I certainly don't think this is on Leonard. But if he's hurt, or if he's tweaked, or if he's anything less than, you know, 90%, whatever, then I think you go to Fleury. But if he's good to go, he's not injured, just got hit in the junk, then I still think you ride him. And you know, and then if we lose another game, then maybe you go to Fleury sort of just out of desperation, just to see what could happen. But to Adam's point that he made a couple weeks ago, or last week, you know, I was saying, hey, they play different in front of Fleury, and I wasn't implying that they played better in front of Fleury. They are a little bit more. They look more transitional, but they don't have that transitional game anymore. And it seemed like there was more chances against Fleury that were high quality than they were in the previous game. So I don't know that it's going to give them the spark or anything like that.
And to treason,
that one too.
The end of the game was crazy.
Yep.
Like that could have been just one of the ultimate disasters we've seen, because that was a terrible turnover, and he made a nice save.
Back-to-back nights.
Yeah.
Tampa, you know, won with 8 seconds left, and that was a complete breakdown. This one was a little bit more just bad puck luck. I mean, it was high up off the glass and takes this weird kick right down into the slot, basically. So I thought Leonard played great. One soft. The other 2 goals I thought were legit. So.
And to be fair, on the last goal, the goal in overtime just was a tremendous shot, but he was just daring him to shoot to that side. He was like, "Go ahead and try it. I got it." And the guy just hit a perfect shot. I mean, there's sometimes there's just not much you can do in that situation, but that's where he wanted him to shoot. He got him to shoot there, and the guy just hit it perfectly. And he had to hit a perfect shot, and he did.
Yep. Let's talk a little NFL. We'll go through the Chiefs and the Texans game, and then we got a bunch of legal topics that we can go to. So I saw this one before the game. I'll try to punch it up here, and it's a crowded page. I didn't. Our producer didn't clip all our tweets, but does everyone on the show know who Mark Levin is?
Oh yeah,
yeah. So Mark Levin says tonight's the season opener. I will not be watching. If I can speak, tonight is the NFL season opener. I will not be watching, and neither should you. You've been called supremacist and racist. You've been demeaned and denounced. So. Some familiar talking points, and that's a guy with 3 million followers, and he's got a bit that's worked over the years. So, again, pouring gasoline on the fire. Is he actually the majority? Is the majority people who are pissed off at the NFL for being woke, first with Kaepernick and now really being woke. I mean, what a message. What a message. It's going to really upset you when you see that end racism in the end zone.
Well,
but is he actually part of the majority?
Sadly, I think he might be. And by the way, tonight was the end of the road for those people. Like they're out of arguments to make now. They're out of all their nonsense. They're still going to do it. I'm not saying they're not, but their whole like, oh, you can't protest the anthem. Oh, and we also can't have a moment of fucking unity. You piece of shit, Chiefs fans. What a bunch of assholes they are. I don't think they should even be allowed back into stadiums. Whatever they could. They're going to be, and I'm overreacting right now. I'm emotional about it. That was disgusting. And anytime they say from now on, like, I just don't want them protesting the anthem, and they also can't protest, not even protest. They also can't just say, hey, we're united together. So that's not allowed now either. So you're done. Like, that argument is over, done, they're finished. But they're still going to make it. They're still going to be obnoxious about it. And there's still plenty of those people out there.
Did everyone see this? Here's the clip of they're locking arms, and this is a moment of unity.
Thank you.
The best part. What if they were just? What if they were just pumping in those boos? They weren't even real. Wasn't even a real crowd though.
That actually is the new argument, because there's some crowd shots. There's some people who videoed from the crowd, and they're like, there was no booing. I'm like, there's booing. Now, maybe the mics were in different parts of the stadium, and some of the crowd was booing. Others, were just kind of quiet. But here's the thing that shouldn't surprise anyone, because we saw it when the NFL made some adjustments in some local markets and started doing whatever sort of, protest or awareness deal they tried to do. And they did it before the anthem. People still booed.
Yeah.
Right. That was one of the adjustments. All right. We won't do it during the anthem. And they still booed. And honestly, if you're old enough to remember, really I don't know. Do I want to go straight down the racial rabbit hole? Maybe not. I do think some of the roots of that, though, if you go back to something simple, like some NFL fans are never happy with NFL players unless they just go out there and play the game and just drop the ball on the turf, because there were a lot of people who were like, I'm not watching the game anymore because of all the dancing and celebrating. And you're like, can they do anything that is going to make you happy aside from pull a Barry Sanders, like make plays, just drop the ball, drop it in the end zone and walk back? There's always going to be some goddamn complaint.
Yeah, I think that the reaction you're going to see across the NFL will be really regionalized. I don't anticipate at a Raider game, whenever we get fans and they do some demonstration, I don't think you'll see anything like that. I think the fan base here, I'm saying here, Raider Nation fan base is a much more diverse fan base that's going to be receptive to this message. I don't think you'll see anything like that in Seattle. Bay Area, I don't think you'll see anything like that. But when you start getting into some of these Midwestern places, Dallas and Houston, well, I don't know about Houston, but Kansas City for sure, Minnesota, maybe, Green Bay, what's it going to be like? I think it's going to be different depending on where you're at.
I was watching the game with some Chiefs fans, by the way. It got regionalized even there. They blamed the Missouri Chiefs fans for that, and so the Kansas fans wouldn't do that, which is completely ridiculous. Now listen,
that's bullshit. I've been to Kansas.
Yeah, me too. Tonight was the ultimate in what those fans think of their players. It was the ultimate in
some of them. Not everyone was booing, but Pat Mahomes has to look up and go, okay, well, they love me as a football player, but they really could give a rat's ass about me as a person.
Because it was those people spent so much money to go into that game to celebrate the Super Bowl, right? That was one of the reasons it was such an important night for them to be there. I think it was $625 face value for every ticket for the 17,000 that were in there. They paid that much money because they want to be a part of the Super Bowl celebration and go in there and say, hey, thank you guys for winning us the Super Bowl. Oh, you want equality? Go fuck yourself, boo. That's what we saw tonight. That's disgusting.
Again, it wasn't everybody, and I'm gonna give you a little ticket price.
Never everybody.
I'm gonna give you a little ticket price information. There's something interesting in there, but yeah, what's gonna happen the rest of the way? I mean, to me, this was I don't know what you mean, but I was actually kind of like, really, that this is what the NFL is gonna do? They're gonna lock arms. We're doing this shit again. That's like as pushy as they're gonna get, and even with that, people are like, I don't like it. Like unity, boo! Like, come on. Everyone chill out. And I understand it. People are like, hey, I tune in to watch a football game. Then don't watch the beginning of the goddamn games. They're going to do something. And if you can't handle it, if you're not mature enough, then just don't watch it. What is the big freaking deal? Come on.
Dude, they only watch one thing other than football, and that's Fox News. And they just are told that if somebody locks arms in unity, that is an affront towards them. They're trying to take away their way of life, and that's what this is all about. It's one huge, big scare tactic of they're coming for you. Yeah. That's all.
I saw some social media reactions. Someone said, we're tired of watching the games and being told that we're terrible people. Isn't that a you problem? You take it that way. Maybe you're a terrible person, because I watch and I'm like, I'm pro unity. I'm not racist. I don't get offended. If you're getting offended, then that is a you issue. Because, when we talk about, when people throw out, hey, we are a nation of racists. Okay, I'm not. So I don't get offended. That's simple as that. If that tweaks you, then there's probably something wrong.
Yeah, I get mad if somebody says that about us, then I get mad at the people that are racist that got us that reputation. Not the person that's pointing it out.
Yeah, I'm with Steve. I don't sit there and go, oh, they're fucking talking to me. That thought never crosses my mind. I don't think that. Like it's like the old saying, people who don't burn down houses don't wonder if they're arsonists. Like if you're wondering whether or not they're talking to you, they're probably fucking talking to you because you got a fucking problem. You know what I mean?
Weird. Is this a get woke, go broke situation though? Because Adam was mentioning earlier about the get-in price. The get-in price actually dropped big time. Whoa. Yeah, the secondary market. Now, there's a couple things here. It could be get woke, go broke, and people are like, no, I'm not going if they're going to do anything. I just want to watch football, so F them. I'm going to send a message. Now, the other side of it is, you know what? I'm still not comfortable going to a big venue with even 20% of the people. So I don't know that we're going to have an exact answer on that one. But, yeah, according to Yahoo, the game was $350 get-in price on the secondary market at first, one broker said on Wednesday. Now it's $150. Said do the math on that. Club level seats were about $900 to $1,000 to $1,200. Now they're down to $525, $600. And the team still has tickets. They will sell you right now on Ticketmaster. And this person said, you don't need me to tell you it's not going well. It's right there in front of your face. So it's either people are pushing back or they're afraid to go and hang out with other football fans and be too close. I
think it's like somewhere in the middle. I think the type of fan who is not worried at all about going to a football game that's filled with 17,000 people are more likely to have a certain ideology, think that this is all no big deal. It's all overblown because, they're listening to the president and think whatever, bullshit. They're much more likely to be like, if they got the money, I'm going. Whereas, okay, like if the Raiders invited in 10,000 people right now and the ticket price was something I can afford, I'm not fucking going, because the last thing I want to do is be in a stadium full of fucking drunk football fans who aren't wearing masks, and aren't abiding by the social protocol. Like that seems like the worst idea for me. And so I think who you're going to attract in this current environment is more likely to be adverse to a message of unity and diversity than who's going to stay at home. And, it's in Kansas and Missouri, and I don't think you're going to have a lot of friends there anyway.
All right, now this one's interesting from that Yahoo story about the ticket prices. Says here, despite the draws, multiple sources familiar with Chief ticket sales told Yahoo Sports the team has had to work deep into its base of season ticket holders to move higher price seats while also assuring fans of the safest possible environment. That effort included Kansas City tackling a suite-level ticket issue that has been a conundrum for many franchises, attempting to troubleshoot the safety of fans who will be in partially enclosed suite environment. Kansas City went as far as shipping them oral saliva test to the suite ticket holders. My first thought when I said that was, wait a second. If I'm in the crowd, like I want a freaking test sent to me. Doesn't this feel like why are they doing that? Doesn't this feel like a class separation issue? Like, wait a second, I don't have value as a fan?
Well, the reason why they stated that is because the suites are enclosed, right? And we know transmission occurs indoors in ventilated areas. Well, I don't know if we know that. That's the theory, right? And that anything in open air outdoors is safer and much harder to transmit. And so if you're not in the suites, you're not closed in, you're in an open air stadium, you should be okay. I think Raider Stadium would be different, or Allegiant Stadium would be different because it's all closed in, it's all circulated air. And so I think you'd have a much stronger argument there of like, oh, cool, you only care about club level and suite level people being safe. Like the rest of us are, that's cool. We can get COVID, you don't care. So, I mean, at least here, they did say that in the statement, like, we're concerned about people in enclosed suites.
Did you see the exchange between the senator from Missouri and a Raiders blogger?
No.
So Kenny King is he's a blogger. I think most Raiders fans know who he is. He's kind of around on the fringes of the Raider fandom world. Obviously, he doesn't like the Chiefs anyway, but he referred to them as classless trash, the fans who were booing. Josh Hawley, famed senator from Missouri, tweeted out, quote, classless trash? The left showing their usual contempt for middle America. Missouri has the best fans in the country. Don't blame them for being tired of NFL corporate woke politics being jammed down their throats. Again, it was players locking arms in a sign of unity. That is now woke.
Just playing to the base, man. I mean, let's be real about let's just cut through the bullshit. Underlying that 35% of Trump supporters who will not change, will not hear any of this stuff. The underlying theme amongst all of that is not Republican identity. It's not fucking the corporate, he's going to have a better handle on the economy and the conservative fiscal values, because he doesn't expound those. His policies are not fiscally conservative, right? The only way you're still holding on to that, no matter what, that 35%, that 30-something percent is because of the way he talks to immigrants and the way he deals with race relations, and that you agree with it. I can't see any other way, because the fucking tax cut was not really a tax cut for most, right?
But if you tell people that they got their taxes cut, they just believe it because they believe anything he said.
No, it's too late, right? We filed the taxes now. The taxes have been filed in the new tax cut.
I'm telling you that the people that listen and you're kind of saying the same thing. The people that are still in the cult,
yeah.
If last year they paid $1,000 and this year they paid $3,000, and you told them it was less, they'd believe it. That's where we are.
Yeah.
Like what happened yesterday with the tapes coming out is horrifying. And yet there's still people standing by. Like it's insane.
I know.
And and you have defenders saying, "Well, I don't believe these hit pieces." It's him on tape. It's not a hit piece. But that's where we're at. And no matter what you can just tell people whatever, and they're going to just believe it. They don't care.
Yeah, but the question is why? Why are they willing to believe that? Because I don't believe it's just because of the two-party system and tribal politics. It's beyond that.
Right? No, because actual conservatives hate Trump more than liberals do.
Right. Because his fiscal policy is not conservative. That's my point.
Not in any way.
So why is it that they will believe anything?
Because he gives them an excuse to blame everybody else, and he justifies their anger and their just white rage, and
Yep.
allows them to, like, their racist anger is okay because he tells them it's okay.
It's
and
race.
That's what it is. Of course.
It's the bottom line of it all, the undercurrent of it all is race. That, these people who are like, older white Americans who are like, oh, I don't like what he tweets and I don't like what he says, but, I like what he does. Bullshit. No, you don't. Like, he's not doing anything that's good. Like, ultimately, right? Do you believe in the environment? He's peeling back EPA shit, right? Do you believe in conservative fiscal policy? Nope, that's not it either, right? He picks winners and losers in his fiscal policies, right? For instance, the tax cut exempted out professional organizations, lawyers, doctors, accountants, anybody with a professional license. They didn't get all those tax cuts. My taxes went up under the tax cut because I have a professional license. So that's all fucking bullshit. It's all about, hey, he reminds me of how things used to be. Yeah, in super racist America. Like, that's ultimately what it comes down to.
I did like the day after, he excuses those tapes by saying, I don't like to cause panic. I like to calm people down. He goes and gives a speech about how, minorities are going to take over the suburbs and tries to run fear into everybody. But your goal is to calm people down? The fuck out of here. It's ridiculous.
We good? Let's talk about some lawsuits. We could do this all night. So, some lawsuits. Canelo Alvarez suing for $280 million in damage in a federal lawsuit against DAZN, Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy Promotions. One of the intriguing. Well, there's a lot of intriguing things about this. He can't go after De La Hoya personally, right? Like, he can't go after De La Hoya's personal fortune, or can he?
I guess it would depend on, like, nothing in the allegations that I've seen right now would rise to the level of being able to have personal liability. So in order to go after an owner of a company or any of its board of directors, you have to do what's called, and get their personal assets. You have to do what's called pierce the corporate veil. And what that means is the person, either you'd have to direct action against the person acting outside his corporate authority. So there you got that. Or if he's acting within his corporate authority, you need to have an allegation and proof that the corporate shell is just that. It's a shell. It's not real. It's just the person. Like, the funds being put into the company are being commingled with personal funds. They didn't really capitalize the company in a way to succeed. It is just simply a corporate front for purposes of liability protection, and it is not a real corporation. Clearly, Golden Boy Promotions is a real corporation that does real business, and I don't think you could ever make that argument. Now, the only way you could go after De La Hoya personally is if he did something to harm Canelo that was outside of his actions in its corporate nature. So and he didn't file a suit against him individually, and there was no allegations that would support that in the complaint.
Anything on it, Adam?
The whole thing is, I'm always confused by contracts between promoters and fighters and how those things work out. And I think it's a very weird situation of, I think Justin's pointing out, and I know we talked about it yesterday about, guaranteeing him all these holidays, like the Mexican holidays. Well, it's 2020. Like, you like those contracts, and I think we were running into this with a lot of contracts, right? Where nobody really planned for what 2020 was going to be. We saw it in soccer, right? With sorry, go ahead.
But they're trying not to pay him for 2019 also, actually.
Right.
So what they're saying is you didn't pick premier opponents, and in order to be paid under this, you had to pick premier opponents. And we didn't think that the opponent you selected in this for September is premier, so we're not going to pay under it. Oh, and by the way, we didn't think your last two in 2019 were premier either, so we're not paying those either. So they're backdating this sucker, and that ultimately, I think that's why they're getting themselves in trouble here.
And by the way, I know Justin, you believe this as a lawyer, I think, but it's why, like, anytime we're talking about any kind of stipulations or rules or anything, I'm like so vigilant about wording. Like, think about what you're saying. A premier opponent. Who's deciding that? And how? Like, you're going to put that in a court and decide what a premier opponent is?
So
Good
yeah,
luck.
let's talk about that. Like, so in a contract, the terms are going to have their plain meaning, and I would argue that premier does not have a plain meaning that's acceptable to everybody. Everybody's going to interpret that slightly differently, especially when you're talking about that label applied to athletes. Like, is this person premier? How many wins they have to have? Win streaks matter. Gate matter. What do they mean by premier? Is it premier from a money standpoint or competitive standpoint? So when the term is vague, and I would argue this term is vague, and it's kind of weird too, because it's not actually in any contract that Canelo signed. There's no stipulation about premier. He said they added that in sort of later in the contract between Golden Boy and the streaming service, and that he's the third party beneficiary of that contract. And then they threw in this premier, the two of them together, for the purposes of asking him out of his money. So let's even say it was a term. It's a vague term. And what would you do to figure out what that term's supposed to mean? Number one, you would look at who drafted the contract. It would be interpreted against the drafter. Now, most contracts on that size say it has a term in there. We agree that we have both had a hand in drafting this contract and that no one party is the author of this contract. Okay, so throw that out. There is no drafter. There's no author of the contract. What do you do to determine what premier means? You would look at the actions and the history and the of dealing between the parties to determine if their actions in the past had led you to believe or come up with a definition of what premier meant to them. Even though it doesn't mean it to the outside world, there was an understanding as to what premier meant to them. And so I don't know how long this contract's been in place, but if they paid him in 2017 and 2018, and the people he fought in those years were similar to who he fought in 2019 and 2020, that's all coming in. That's all relevant. That's what Canelo's team is going to point to say, hey, they thought these guys are premier. What's wrong over here? But I think that the difficult part there is, I think his fights were Triple G in that time. So obviously he's taken a I think by any definition, any fight he picks is going to be a step down from that.
Let's talk a little wrestling. It's important stuff here. Seriously. Well, I mean, amateur wrestling in the first story. Adam, you've seen the story with this Iranian wrestler who's facing death. What's the deal on this? And haven't there been people calling on President Trump to step in and try to save the guy?
Yeah, Dana White, for one.
Yeah. What the guy did wrong? The claim is what? He's treasonous, and they're going to put him to death.
Yeah, I don't know too much about the details of this case. I only know the Dana White aspect of it.
Yeah, so this, he and his brother participated in a demonstration in a protest against the Iranian government, and the allegation is that then a couple months later, police come in, grab him, grab his brother, take him in, torture them, and get them to admit that he killed somebody, get a confession out of him for some murder that had been unsolved some time ago, or maybe, I don't know, maybe the Iranians killed somebody just for the purposes of making this allegation against him. But there's an open murder case. They get him, they torture him, they get him to confess, and he admits, like, I confessed under torturous pretenses, but everybody largely knows that he didn't do it, that it's like physically impossible for him to have done it, which is why Dana White stepped in, asked Trump to sort of talk to the Iranians. I guess Trump did and spoke on his behalf, but they're gonna kill the guy. He's up for execution. They've cut off all communications now with the family, which is apparently, I'm just learning this stuff, is an indication that the execution is imminent. Within days. Doesn't look like doesn't look like anything's going to happen. I mean, other than this dude getting killed for something he didn't do, just because he protested against the government.
Yikes. Not good. In this country, you can talk about murdering someone, and then weeks later you can say, I was just playing. It's just part of my bit for wrestling. Apparently, we talked about Marty Jannetty a month ago, and Jannetty admitted that, well, he was defending himself against a rapist, so he killed a guy outside a bowling alley and then dumped the body into like a river, right? Wasn't that the story?
Mm-hmm.
And we got into the whole thing like, wait, is this applicable? Can he be in trouble? Like, how long ago was it? And is he now saying it's a fake and that it's just part of a wrestling storyline?
Well, I mean, he's got to say that. Even if let's take a couple different steps. Number one, let's assume the story's true. And the cops want to investigate it. Is he within the statute of limitations? Yes, there is no statute of limitations for murder. So yes, he can be investigated. He could be prosecuted. He could be sentenced. He could go to jail. He could be executed. All of those different things are on the table. But if what he said is true, and he didn't get into details, but he basically implied that the dude at the bowling alley asked him to go outside and then was attempting to rape him, attempting to sodomize him, attempting to do something in a sexual nature. He's 13 or 14, I think he said at the time. Teenager. And he said, did what I had to do, made that guy disappear. Cops never found him. They should have looked in this river and they would have found him. So if the story's true and somebody is in fact trying to sodomize or otherwise rape or molest a 13 or 14-year-old, and I'm on the jury and they say, but that doesn't give him the right to kill him, I'm like, bullshit. Yes, it does. And like self-defense, hell yeah. Like that dude's getting off if I'm on the jury, and I think on any jury, and I don't think they would actually prosecute the case. But if you're sitting there and you're part of the local, law enforcement, and somebody says some shit like that, I mean, you're gonna want to investigate it to be thorough, right? You don't want people saying, "Oh, you just ignored that this guy's admitting to murder." It doesn't matter that it's 40 years ago; it's murder. So you got to try to get in there and investigate. And so he's just like, no, it was all made up. I was just telling a story, because that's the easiest way to make this go away. Even if you think you were in self-defense and it was justified, you don't want to go down that road because you don't know how somebody else is going to see it.
I mean, the first thing they have to do, and I don't know if they did this or not, is like find out if there's an unsolved murder from that era, right?
Oh, I mean, I think that they said that. I mean, I think that the police force said that there was a missing person, right? Didn't they say that for that time frame? Yeah. So the missing person is confirmed.
Does it was just a bit for my wrestling character defense hold up?
Sure. I mean, not if they could find anything. Right. I mean, I'm assuming this river is a pretty big river, and it's been 40 years, and so there's probably nothing left to find. And so, what are you going to do? I mean, outside of getting the guy to confess, you really got nothing.
Well, I guess that would be the follow up of like, is that not a confession?
No, well, he's saying it's not, right? I'm not. Number one, it's not under oath. Not that a confession has to be, but could you try to use that against him as a confession? You could try, but he's got his response, which is like, I live and breathe and have made a career on make-believe. My job is to get people to pay attention to me. And, I knew about this dude missing because I was I lived in the area. I remember this dude going missing. And so I said this to get people to pay attention.
There didn't actually have to be a missing person. You could have just made up a time and a date, like made up some random city. You don't have to be so specific about this actual missing person.
Well, it's because I think he was probably telling the truth, but
yes, I know.
But whatever.
Next one up.
We should not start the show with political talk. The comments are all political now.
Fighting with each other. It's fine.
It was a bad day for me, so I didn't care.
Headline: Dana White says NBA and MLB have COVID positive athletes playing. The exact quote was, "Look at what we've done." Talking about the UFC. Look at how it's all worked out. One of the things that we're not doing that other sports are doing is there's people that keep testing positive, right? Positive, but they have no symptoms and they're not contagious. They're letting those guys play if it's the NBA or Major League Baseball. We're not. I mean, that's the difference. We've talked about defamation many times, and you got to be really careful with the way you say it. That sounds like that's an absolute, isn't it? That's a fact, the way he's stating it. So could MLB or NBA come at him and say, hey, that's defamatory?
I think the NBA could, because they, as I understand their policy, there is no entry way in any way to get into the bubble if you've if you're testing positive still. Now, I do know that there is some thoughts out there and there's some evidence that if you contract COVID and you test positive and you get sick or you're symptomless and you recover and you get to the point where you don't have symptoms, you may test positive for months after the fact. So like you can continue to be positive 60 days after and you're no longer contagious. You're no longer. So I think that that's the precipice for what MLB was discussing, which is, what do we do there? If somebody tested positive, it's been 14 days, they don't have, since they've had any symptoms or they never had any symptoms, and they just keep bringing positive the whole way through, are we really not going to let them play, or are we going to let them play? And there was discussions that were, happening and being disclosed as to those discussions online. There's some tweets out there that said MLB is probably going to allow these people to play. So now the question would be, does MLB have a defamation action because they haven't actually let anybody play yet? And he's saying they're letting them play. I would say that language is just gray enough against the MLB for it to work, which is, he didn't say they have played. He said they're letting them play. And then he could point to, John Hyman and say, look at his tweet. He says they're very likely to do this. This is going to be their system, positive, symptomless for 14 days, and they're going to be in. They're going to let them play. And that's what I was saying. Now, my counter to that would be, no, you were stating it in the present tense, not the future tense. You said they are letting them play.
I don't want to make that argument. Steve, can you read? Do you have the quote still up in front of you?
Yeah, hold on one second.
Sorry. Because I wanted to parse this comment exactly, because that was going to be my argument to you, Justin, that I think he's completely wrong what he's trying to say, but I thought that there was enough gray area in the language that it was okay, because couldn't you theoretically say, hey, NBA players tested positive before they got to the bubble, and then they got there and now they're playing? I don't think he said they test positive and they're playing at the same time. Couldn't the time lapse be the out?
We'll hear the quote.
But the intent of what he's trying to say is they're letting guys play that are testing positive currently. But I don't think he was specific enough in what he said.
We'll see.
To make that.
I think he said they're testing positive, and they're letting these guys play.
I have it here. Sorry, there's a freaking pop-up.
That's fine. That's fine.
Trying to get it. Let's see.
But a guy say Rudy Gobert tested positive, and now he's playing. He's not saying they're testing positive and playing on the same day. Do you have to make that connection?
Here we go.
Okay.
So look at the history here. Look at what we've done. Look at how it's all worked out. One of the things that we're not doing that the other sports are doing is there's people that keep testing positive, right? Positive, but they have no symptoms and they're not contagious. They're letting those guys play if it's in the NBA or Major League Baseball. We're not. I mean, that's the difference. Oh.
No, because I'm his intent, what he's trying to say is absolutely that they're letting guys that are testing positive play that day.
And that's
which
the
I
important
don't think
part.
is true.
It's not what could possibly be read otherwise. And I know what you're saying is, well, if you read this exactly to word, we could have a person that goes positive, 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 and then the fourth is negative, and the fifth is negative, and the sixth is negative, and then we let them play. But that's certainly not the intent of the words, and it's not what he's conveying. And it's going to be important of what a reasonable person is going to think he's saying, not what an unreasonable person can parse out of there and say he is not saying.
So intent of the words is more important than actual words?
100 always,
Okay.
right? Like
I like that.
to the extent that to the extent that you could say, well, it could be read this way. That only matters if it's determined to be a reasonable interpretation of the words. If that's seen as an unreasonable interpretation of the words, then that's out. Not considered. That's true of contracts. That's true of defamation. So yes, you can get Adam Hill Esquire up there saying, we have an instance of Rudy Gobert. He had 6 positives and then 4 negatives, and now he's going to play, and that falls within that language.
Yeah.
And then a jury could say that's an unreasonable interpretation of those words.
Okay.
Right. So being not well spoken is actually an advantage in cases like this.
Oh, 100%. That's Donald Trump has made a career of that.
I think I'm good. I think I'm real good on this. You know what? I didn't even think of this one, but Ari actually, by just joking around, by throwing up fudge, because we argued about the intent of words the other day. Adam and I got into a big fight over the guy Clay Johnston, who was working to go on the Rams and then turned out to be a traitor and a dirtbag and went and followed his father, even though the Rams drafted him and now wasted a 7th-round pick. But all that stuff aside, Adam didn't like him because he ran around the field. He wouldn't curse. He's a goody two-shoes guy. And instead of saying fuck, he would say fudge all the time. And that drives Adam nuts. Adam, your claim is what? It's the same thing.
It is. Of course, it's the same thing. Like what he's almost not portraying it. That's not the right word. He is trying to come across as holier than thou because instead of yelling fuck all the time, I'm too good to curse. I'm just going to yell fudge 100 goddamn times a practice because I'm better than those that curse. And this is why. Because I do believe intent and context is the most important thing with language and words all the time. And it goes back to the N-word in particular, which I really, I'm really into the parsing of that word.
You should have just stopped it right
there. Yeah, I'm really into that word.
The N-word, I'm really into.
So this is where my problem with Clay Johnston stems from that, right? Where there are people, and it's kind of been taken over in this round too, but there are people that would go around calling black people ninja all the time. Like, oh, that's okay. I'm not actually saying it. Yes, you are. Like that's what you're trying to go for. Like, and I've seen many people do this, and it has driven me nuts for a long time. And I think that's why it bothers me with Clay Johnston. Like, it's context. It's always context. So if you're mad at somebody in the car next to you, and I was around somebody who did this and I lost it on them, but they were like, that goddamn fucking ninja, and I'm like, yo, it's not any better to say that. Your intent is to say that. Like, what are you trying to prove or pull off by doing this? That's ridiculous. So now when this guy's yelling fudge all the time, like, you're not better than the people that yell fuck all the time, dude.
So 2 different parts about that. The first one, or the second example of ninja is when that would come into light would be about whether or not, somebody getting into a brawl, whether it was offensive or not, right? It's about offensiveness, where the fuck fudge conversation has more to do. Nobody's offended by it, right? Because people are saying fuck all the time out on the field. It's something that he's not saying. And I've had this conversation with some of my religious friends, and I can buy into a little bit of what they say about this. I mean, clearly I cuss. And what they say is, because they say like snit and fudge and stuff like that. I'm like, it's the same thing. You mean it the same way I mean it, right?
Of course.
And what they said is, yes, I'm just as frustrated as you are when I say that word. But when I say that word, the imagery that comes to other people's minds is not as offensive as it is when the actual word's spoken. And I actually can buy into that a little bit. That if somebody says fudge, I'm not going, wait, what's going on? But if somebody says fuck, I might be, right? And so I could buy a little bit into that argument that it is actually attempting to be more courteous to the people around that would be offended by the word, even if you're not, by using that language.
Okay, I'll counter that by saying he's in the middle of a football practice.
Yeah, but you don't know
who's offended by that.
Who knows? There's not religious people, other religious people that could be there that could be offended by the language? Who knows?
Because I just don't even buy that part of it. Like, to me, it is this is a case, Steve, where the phrase actually does mean something. Because I think your dumb phrase doesn't actually mean anything ever. This is virtue signaling. This is, I'm better than you. I'm going to yell fudge, and I can protect my, I'm not as evil and vile as you that's going to curse. I'm just going to express my frustration by saying fudge because I'm a better person than you. That's what that is. It's absolutely the real definition of virtue signaling.
I think it can be, but I don't think it always has to be. I don't think that's an absolute. And you're saying he's in the middle of football practice, but the rest of his life he's not. And was he going to change his language just for that moment and then be able to go back and forth? Right? I don't know. I don't think it always is virtue signaling. I've got to find my charger. Drop me out for a second, Steve. My phone.
He's losing his charge again. So what I want to ask him is, am I safe against the FCC? Because the other day on the show, I was talking about a writer who I disagreed with, and I said, fudge you. Could someone actually go to the FCC and say he just used a 4-letter word, but it wasn't a 4-letter word? But according to his co-host, who says it's the intent that matters, and Justin just said the intent is most important, is fudge you now an FCC violation?
No,
and I didn't even know about.
I'll say why.
I didn't even know about snit. I'm going to start using that is bullshit.
No, because
right? How about that Lombard Trophy? By the way, I thought you were leaving like 40 minutes ago. You said we were. I don't know what's going on, but how about that? He's saying that he's worried about Adam, knowing what everyone else is thinking. What if I say bullsnit? Bullsnit.
Right. We know what you're thinking.
That's a bunch of bullsnit.
Here's where I think it's different, and obviously Justin will know this better than me, but I like to be the lawyer when Justin's not here. I would say we are discussing it from a standpoint of just language of everyday people.
Yeah.
And the intent is the intent and how it ever goes. The FCC is actually a specific rule. And they have specific words that you can and can't say.
Yeah.
So I feel like that is a different scenario where you're fine saying it. Now, our bosses at the station might not approve of that. They have a different set of regulations. But the FCC has a very specific set of words that you can't say on the air.
Yeah.
And I think if you yell fudge and snit all the time, you're going to be okay.
Ari actually wanted to turn me in last week. What did I say? I said someone was a puss bag, and he was like,
yeah.
Funny.
He wanted to dump it.
The only thing Ari actually dumped last week was when a guest mentioned a name of a local journalist. He caught that one.
I'm glad
you were not in studio. I wish you were, because his reaction, because he's missed quite a few in the past. The fact that he nailed it on a guest mentioning a local journalist and dumped it was epic. About as good as it.
Justin's back, I think. Yeah,
Justin is back. Justin, I was posing the question.
I listened. Since
Adam is so big on Clay Johnston, let me explain it again. He's so big on Clay Johnston and fudge that he actually means fuck. So if I say fudge you on the air, can the FCC come after me?
No.
Hallelujah.
Did I explain it right?
Yeah, I think you explained it right. But I do think that like your employer could suspend you or say, hey, you're threatening somebody, and you're like, wait, but I said fudge, not fuck. And they go, I don't give a shit what word you used. You
by the way,
it was your intent.
Don't give me the speech about language and then they go, I don't give a shit.
I don't give a snit. I don't give a snit. What you?
That would be better. I don't give a shit. Like, well, you're doing it too. And I'm not on the air.
I'm not on the air.
Yeah. Carlin, 70 dirty words. Believe me, I've tried to come up with every alternative I can for cusses, and sometimes it works, sometimes it's weak. Yeah, I do G damn it. I do every once in a while I'll do a G damn. Wasn't Brady saying he got all offended because I said G damn the other day?
We've had F-word drama on the show.
Yeah. Sure. Pussyfoot. Or just calling people pusses. Stop being a puss.
Sure. You say dong a lot?
Well, come on. That's acceptable. I've got like 13 different you know what's funny is you can say penis. I don't the one thing I can call you a dick. I'm not going to do it like 7 times in a conversation. But I mean I think I have every word possible for weenie, so I just did it there. Just don't overdo it, that's all. Just don't overdo it. Or you just start doing, you start like mixing in like Hebrew and Yiddish and people are like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. So
that's appropriating.
My God, it's my favorite word, but yeah, you can't do it. Can't do it. No,
you got to say.
Can't do see you next. Can't do see you next Tuesday either, as Brittany Anderson tried to do about 10 years ago, and we were like, "What are you doing? Don't do that." Yes, you're right. Oh my! If I could get away with it, just Ari misses a soundbite. Come on, dude.
I'll say this: if Clay Johnson starts saying "cunt" every time he misses a tackle, he'll be my favorite player.
All right, we got a request earlier, and it was Mark and LV. I have not seen this commercial. I don't even know if this is the commercial. I think the claim was that maybe Big Dan, who's running for office,
Big Dan,
could get pissed at this ad. I haven't seen the ad, so I have no idea what's coming here. I hope it doesn't say clunt a lot in it because we get in trouble.
Fudging clunt.
Yeah. Boy, Nevada politics. I mean, everywhere it gets nasty, but Nevada politics can get especially. Have you seen this, Justin?
No.
All right. All I see right now is some sort of wrestling ring, and I don't know. I feel like
is this the Marty Jannetty confession?
This is the Marty Jannetty confession. Let's try it.
A failed career spent bruising and body slamming. If only ex-professional wrestler Dan Rodimer had kept it in the ring. But in real life, Dan Rodimer, an alarmingly violent rap sheet.
Okay. We off to a good start here.
Look at the eyes. That's some angry eyes right there.
It's a good shot.
Where'd they find that picture?
Beatings, domestic violence, as documented in his girlfriend. Domestic violence.
It said this documented. It's got to be true. Vicious assaults, brutal beatings, domestic violence.
All cited. You see that?
Yep.
To tell you what they're relying on. That's good stuff.
Vicious assaults 3 times.
Yeah.
10, 11, and 13. Brutal beatings. 10, it looks like the same cases. All right.
As documented in his girlfriend's calls to 911. Send Dan Rodimer to Congress? No, because a violent lawbreaker can't just suddenly become a Nevada lawmaker.
I'm Susie B, and I approve this message.
The end wasn't good, but everything else was good.
Can you go back to where they had the charges listed?
Rodimer, an alarmingly violent sheet, vicious assault.
I think yeah, right here. I think we've discussed this before. There's a lot of leeway in political ads, right?
Tons.
So,
yeah.
Because my question would be, how do you quantify? Okay, say he's charged with an assault, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's deciding that it's vicious, or can we just say any assault is vicious?
I would argue. Well, I don't know.
Is any beating brutal?
I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. I mean, I would think that the citations for those are the same. That the acts were documented as vicious assaults and brutal beatings. But if they're not, I mean, the vicious assault is a little different, right? But brutal beatings, if it's a beating, I don't understand how it's not brutal, right? A beating's brutal, but an assault doesn't have to necessarily be vicious. As we've talked about a number of different times, slapping something out of somebody's hand is an assault.
But does vicious have a legal definition though?
You'd have to argue that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the answer to that is. Let me see if I can find. What does the dictionary say about vicious?
I'm on the website too.
So this is literally how we do as lawyers. Like, okay, well, Webster's dictionary defines it as this: deliberately cruel or violent, immoral. There you go. That's the one you want, right? You'd say
by the
I'm
way,
using immoral.
Is this defamation that he's only 5'5"? Are we sure he's that small? I'd be pissed about that part. I'm all muscled up and a wrestler, and I'm only 5'5". That's a shot.
Okay, so in this case, the victim sustained a variety of injuries from the incident to include a chipped tooth, bilateral fracture of the nose, a cut lip that required stitches, significant abrasions to multiple parts of the head, and an intracranial hemorrhage. I would say probably vicious.
Vicious and brutal, I think, are all Jesus.
But they never used the word vicious or brutal.
Was he convicted of that? And it didn't become a felony?
It's an incident report.
She dropped the charges.
Yeah,
I bet.
It was an incident at a nightclub, by the way.
Yeah, I bet she didn't testify. Refused to testify.
That one was a different case. This was a dude in a nightclub.
Oh, this was not the.
This was different than
the girlfriend 911.
Yeah, different one.
What do you mean? How do you get the party vaccine?
I hate to say, isn't it all Nevada politics? If I get one more mailer on some scumbag from either side of the aisle, God, stop sending them to my house, please. Dude. I don't like most of you. God, it's the same. I mean, this guy's a new character, but it's the same dirtbags running for different offices every fudging cycle. You didn't say that. That's the problem. Every day with the mailers. Enough.
Dude, they work though, man. Especially now that they can't knock on doors. You go knock on doors, people point guns at you. Don't forget, Nevada is the place that elected a dead pimp to the assembly. So like the bar is really fucking low here, man.
Is this personal for Ryan Carl? He's saying charges absent conviction should not be a matter of public record.
Says who?
Ryan Carl.
No. If my tax dollars are being spent to investigate something that you did, this public record, give it to me. I want to see it.
God almighty. Oh, we got a good one to close on. Good tweet from one of our buddies who covers MMA. Can someone explain to me why the people who set off the massive wildfire in California for a fucking gender reveal party haven't been charged with a crime?
They will.
That would seem to be right, correct?
Yeah, they will be. They'll have civil penalties, there'll be criminal charges, and there'll be restitution. And the restitution's going to be fucking big, right? It's going to be millions and millions of dollars.
That's
so
beat the snit out of.
Sorry, left off my not the good line.
I beat the snit out of.
Some clunt stiffed him.
Yeah, some clunt.
Oh no, this is really taking off now.
Fudging.
It's so good. It's so good.
They Lawrence charged the fudge out of the clunt. I mean, but we're laughing behind a story that it's really sickening. So I don't know. It's people should have to pay for it one way or the other.
Yeah. So and there's precedent. There was so a lot of times on these accidental fires, there was no criminal charges because the arson was the only charge, and that requires a tent. but the laws have changed over the last 10 years. Some of the laws have been around for a little bit, but a lot of laws have changed over the last 10 years. Similar to like, there's flash flooding and you drive your car into it, you got to pay for, you're being saved because you're an idiot. Same with these fires. And there's recent history in Texas, 2018, I think. Very similar set of circumstances. It wasn't gender reveal, but it was fireworks. And this gender reveal, I mean, they keep calling it gender reveal, but the gender reveal was a fucking fireworks.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
So let's just call it what it is, right? So somebody setting off fireworks in Texas and it burned thousands of acres, and they were charged criminally. They served time in prison, and the restitution on it was $8 million. So like for the rest of their life, out of their paycheck, they're pulling some money towards this restitution that'll never get paid because he's probably not even paying at the rate of interest that's accruing, because the legal rate of interest is really high. Right now it's like 5.25%. So that's hard to pay down the principal on that.
Could the state go after the person who came up with the whole concept of gender reveal? It's your fault, lady. And the only reason I say that is that she was interviewed and she was mad that this fire was started at a gender reveal party and blamed toxic masculinity, because I guess apparently all males are, sort of angry and they can't deal with the gender reveal, so they got to make it like explosive and we got to make it exciting. So it's actually the entire gender's fault that these fireworks that set this gigantic fire. So can we just go after her? It's her concept. She's the one who blew it.
I totally fit into that like stereotype. We didn't do a gender reveal for my kids, but if we would have, I'd have been like, I'm shooting a gun or we're lighting some stuff off. Like we're not, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be explosive. So I totally fit into what she thinks of the male gender.
Well, I will say this was a good podcast, because we went from Adam starting a literal fire in our chat room, our comment area over politics. And now we're just ending with everyone just coming up with creative ways to call each other clunts. Like everyone just, I saw Brady call Ari a clunt a couple of minutes ago. So have fun with that, folks. You know what? And because we have mostly guys in the audience, run the clunt thing, but don't warn your girlfriend, your wife. Run it by her, call her a clunt, and then be like, "No, it's podcast. I don't mean it. It's not. It's different."
Can you do it but film it? Run like a hidden
TikTok.
camera, film it, and put it on TikTok. That's like a large part of TikTok.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Do it.
Playing pranks on the SOs.
Yeah, and so it's like clunt. It sounds sort of like clunk. You could be caught up in between. I want somebody, please do it and TikTok it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's not going to shock her. I don't call her a clunt, but she was watching like some, I don't know. It was some little, I don't even know what would you call it, like some melodrama with a bunch of teenagers being mean to each other, and I was just like, what a little clunt that one is. She's like 14.
You said the real word though.
No, the SO, I did say the real word. The SO was like, yeah, she is.
No, I won't bring you to my girls' gymnastics competition.
Yeah, no.
Cofield's over there.
I may think it. I won't say it. Although I do think every once in a while that everyone of every age needs to have a C-bomb dropped on them, just as a wake-up call. Like, that's enough. Clunt. Cut it out. Like, what? Yeah. That's what I said.
No, I'm not going to do that. I got 3 women in the house over here. There'll be no clunting. There's none of that.
You're fighting a battle every day. We'll have to. We'll get Petro's reaction next Wednesday, because Petro's really the guy who got me going with the C-bombs, and he's actually in the same situation. He's got 2 daughters and obviously a wife, so he's fighting that battle every day. It's very touch and go. You do not want to get on the wrong side for the wrong reason, because it could last weeks. Not a good thing.
Oh, dude, with my daughters too. Like it's crazy. Like they'll just wake up some morning and they'll just be like, you know what? I'm gonna see how far I can push everybody. It's nuts, dude. It's happening the other day, and I had to just like pull my daughter aside and be like, wait a minute, are we gonna have this conversation? Like, you really want to do this? You really want to see where this goes? Because I've never spanked you. I never hit you, but I'm not opposed to it. You've just never gotten there yet,
Podcast's getting loose. We got to get out of here. It's getting ugly.
Oh, my poor mother-in-law. She watches this podcast like religiously. She loves it.
Oh no. And, I'm sorry.
She watches every one of them, and then she gives a summary. Hi, Charlene. And she gives a summary to the family text thread. It's like, Justin, I think I disagree with you about this, your take on this, and you had a potty mouth and you said shit 4 times.
you said cunt 8 times today.
We were clean.
I wasn't.
We just said snit, fudge, and clunt a lot.
Can I apologize to Charlene right now? I'm sorry.
She'll love it, dude. She's like she's my biggest fan. Anytime they post something on like Facebook with me in studio or something, she always comments, hands off, ladies, he's taken. she's the best. She's the best. She's the best.
All right, we're back tomorrow night, 10:30. Yeah, right. New York. 10:30. We close out the week, and tomorrow JVT's on. We'll try to get Adam to call in, although we're pretty jammed with guests. So good lineup tomorrow. And
big rehearsal day tomorrow, Steve. I'm very busy.
Won't have time. What time's rehearsal?
2.
Oh, you know what? I do want to mention one thing real quick. I was down at Silver Sevens today. I know everyone's worried about going to casinos. It was actually a really good environment there. They cleaned the place up a bunch. They put a bunch of money into it. So go check it out when you can. The setup is good. And hopefully if Sissy Lack, kidding, hopefully he's going to open the bars pretty soon. Justin, we are getting better signs in the numbers, right?
Numbers look great, but they just had their meeting today and said no to the bars again. So maybe 2 weeks is the next meeting. But yeah, I mean, Clark County numbers are fucking awesome right now. They're under 200 last 3 days, and one of the days was almost under 100. So that's real good.
Lombard, I think you're being sarcastic. I do hang at the best places because I hang at the places where beers are still like $1, $2, and $3, and you can get a mixed drink for like $3, $4, $5. Those are the best places. So nothing against the places that are charging $8 or advertising buckets for $35. Silver Sevens is my kind of place. So show up any of the Thursdays coming up. Pizza Rock is next week on Monday as we kick off that. Monday Night Football Party, we got a double dip. And then Sunday, we're going to be launching the brand new and improved Sunday morning show without